You're listening to the world of business and taxes with Mike Lodge, keeping you informed. So let's get started.
And hello and welcome to the podcast at the WBT. Today we're talking about, and by the way, I'm Michael Lodge. I forgot to tell you who I am. But today we're going to talk about some mistakes that we're making in our trying to save money or trying to plan for our future. Because we're seeing a lot more people come into our office. I'll tell you, just yesterday, a girl came in. She's an RN. She makes about $200,000 a year. But she had to give me a post-dated check because she didn't know when she was going to have the money. So when people are making good money and making bad financial decisions, it really puts other people in harm's way also. Making the right money moves is a lifelong process. We have to think about it every single day of our lives. If you want to achieve financial independence, you have to think about it. Unfortunately, while it takes a lot of small, smart decisions to grow your wealth, it only takes just a few mistakes to completely get you off the track, completely derail your efforts, potentially for decades to come because we're making bad decisions. But we can adjust those decisions, and we need to adjust them right now because we need to address several issues that we're seeing in our office also, that people just are not making good financial decisions for their future. A lot of you are waiting too long to start a savings for retirement. That really gets to me. You're spending so much money on buying new Mercedes and BMWs and everything else, but you are not planning for your future. If you don't start to downsize and start cutting those expenses and start putting that money away for your savings, you're going to be in trouble for a long time. Listen, the Center for Retirement Research at Boston revealed in 2010 that just 60% of people in their 20s who were eligible to contribute to a 401k were doing so, compared with 84% of people in their 50s. Many young people either save nothing to save too little because they believe they have plenty of time, or because they have other demands on their cash and think they cannot afford to save. Unfortunately, the longer you wait, the less power of compounding will benefit you. And the harder it will be to save enough for a comfortable retirement. If you begin saving in your 20s, you could retire a millionaire by just saving, by just getting rid of all of your expenses that you think you need but you really don't need. By saving just 13.5% of an average 20-year-old salary, even if you never increase your monthly retirement savings above $305 per month during your whole career. But if you wait until you're in your 50s, you'll need to save almost $4,000 a month to have $1 million by the age of 63. The average retirement age in the United States. If you made the maximum IRA contributions of $5,500 starting at age 25 versus starting at age 40, you'd end up by investing $82,500 more during your working years if you retire at 65. But the payoff of those early investments is enormous. Assuming your investments earned an average of 8% a year, you'd end up with more than $1.5 million in savings if you started at age 25, compared with around $435,000 if you began investing at 45. So it's easy to see why waiting to save for retirement is the biggest mistake you can make. You don't need that BMW. You don't need that fancy vacations. You don't need a lot of things. But you do need to start savings. The other issue that we're seeing is that buying a home is too expensive. I see a lot of my clients coming and buying these huge homes, but they're living poorly. Or they're writing me post-dated checks because they don't have enough cash to cover everything else. Buying a home that is too expensive makes you house poor. You'll pay more of your income than you should towards your housing, which will make it difficult to save or invest for retirement. Remember, it's all about investing for retirement. A costlier home also comes with higher property taxes and insurance premiums. If your house costs more because it is larger, you'll spend more on furniture, utilities, and maintenance. Higher mortgage payments are also harder to make if you lose your job, otherwise suffer a drop in income, which makes the chance of foreclosure even greater. You've overspent. You've put too much cash into a home that you really can't afford. Don't buy a house you can't afford. Simple as that. Don't buy a house you can't afford. Most banks will only lend to you if your total debt, including all of your housing costs and other debts, amount to 40% or less of your income. When considering only your housing costs, keep the number at or below 28% of your income. If housing is very expensive in your area, consider saving up for a larger down payment so your mortgage balance is lower. And avoid fancy mortgage products like balloon mortgages. It's worthless. That makes your home seem affordable, but could ultimately end up costing you the house if you cannot afford your payments through the life of the loan. Because we never know what's going to happen down the road. Why not live more comfortably in a downsized house, save more, and if something does happen, you have a cushion. Then we have to get into cars. And gosh, I see so many people driving these big old, and I was guilty of it too. This year I finally got rid of my BMWs and I went down to a Hyundai. And you know what? It's been the best decision I have ever made. My Hyundai is completely paid for. I put every 3 weeks I have to put gas in it. And I'm living more comfortably. I don't have that expense of a $900 payment because my car is now completely paid off. I was stupid. I was one of those stupid people who got into a car that I should not have gotten into. And I'm telling you, for many years. So I'm going to admit to you, I was very stupid. And I don't want you to be that stupid either. In the first quarter of 2016, 86.3% of new vehicles and 55.3% of used vehicles were financed. Just over 30% of new vehicles were leased. The average loan for a new vehicle was $30,000. And the average loan term for a new car was 68 months, more than 5 years. A car or truck is depreciating, and as soon as you take it off the market, take it off the car lot floor, it begins depreciating. We call it a depreciating asset. It loses value continuously. When you finance or lease a car, you pay interest on a vehicle that is immediately worth less than you paid. Many people become trapped in a cycle where they buy a new car as soon as their old loan is paid off, or go from one lease car to the next. If you do this, you'll have car payments your entire life. The average monthly loan payment on a car is $503, or the average monthly lease payment of $406. could turn into $1.7 million or $1.4 million respectively if you invested these amounts monthly from age 25 to age 65 and earned an 8% return. If you finance cars, you'll have nothing to show for the money at the end of your career except the most recent vehicle in your garage. Is it worth $1.7 million for you to always have a new car? If not, keep your car as long as you can. Make car payments to yourself until you can pay and until you can buy an affordable, reliable vehicle by paying cash. And bank the money you save by not upgrading and financing vehicles every single year. You guys become in a cycle. I was in a cycle there for a while. But it was a cycle, and it goes round and round and round, and you spend more and more and more. But all that money that you're spending on a new car, if you put that into your retirement plan or into your savings system, you will be okay by the time you retire. Excuse me. But if you continue to spend money on a depreciating asset, you're just wasting money. And then we get to the part of buying depreciating assets on credit. So we're speaking of spending money on loans. Are you among the 38.1% of households with credit card debt? If you are, get rid of that debt. Pay down that debt and get rid of it. If you're buying items on credit, whether it's groceries on a credit card or any other finance item, every dollar you're paying in interest is making the financier wealthier and making you poorer. How smart is that? The typical American pays more than $280,000 in interest over a lifetime, while much of this is due to mortgage debt. You could pay hundreds of dollars in annual interest costs or even a small $3,000 credit card balance. This adds up to thousands of dollars during your lifetime. Borrowing money for a mortgage or an education makes sense because your home will hopefully increase in value. And your education should increase your income. But paying interest on any purchase that isn't necessary and won't make value is a choice you'll end up regretting. You will end up regretting it as your hard-earned dollars go towards interest on items that are long gone or worth far less than you paid. If you can control your credit card use and pay your bills in full each month, then by all means do so. But it's dumb still, because you're making debt. It'll keep you, by paying this on time and everything, it'll keep your accounts active, which will bolster your credit score, will raise it up. And you may earn some rewards like cashback. However, if you can't, make do with what you have until you're able to pay in cash. Don't spend on credit cards. Put your credit cards, if you want to right now, just snip up your credit cards and start saving so that you can pay everything in cash. Debt is the worst thing that you can ever have, especially credit card debt, because you're throwing money right out the window on interest and fees every single month. It's ridiculous, guys. Let's get smart here. And then if you are paying late on your debts, it also creates a big problem for you. If you go into debt, paying on time is essential. A single late payment could cause as much as a 110-point drop in your credit. And you know that you're always looking at your credit score to see where you're at. So if you had a 110-point drop in your credit, If you previously had a score of